the 9 days. Number one is, it's customary to give tzedakah for the cost of the meal of Tisha B'Av before the 9 days. In order we shouldn't have the schus, have the merit already of the meal of Tisha B'Av already now, the fasting of Tisha B'Av already now. So before giving the tzedakah, there is some discussion about the custom of giving tzedakah in the place of fasting. Some say giving tzedakah in the place of fasting there was a custom to actually use the money to buy food for people to finish the fast. So it was specifically to give to poor people to finish the fast, but that's not the only opinion. It's also like a personal thing that the purpose of the fast is to cause a kapara, it's to cause an atonement, it's to cause that there should be less of mechate and limatzenu, to take away that verse which caused the destruction. So give tzedakah instead. So that's supposed to be done already before erev Rosh Chodesh. Also, since on 9 days you're not supposed to wear clothing which has been washed or pressed, so before 9 days begin, you're supposed to wear all the clothing that you'll need for these days, so you're not wearing fresh clothing on the 9 days.
How long do you have to put on the clothing?
It doesn't say an exact time. It says zman ma, a significant amount of time so that it's used. Allah doesn't. But one thing that I learned this year, didn't know before, is you don't have to put on 2 suits at 2 different times. You could put on all 4 shirts at the same time, if that works. If you didn't have a chance to put on something before the 9 days began, so then you could take it outside and you could step on it and wrinkle it enough so that it's as if it was worn. But the chatchila, what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to specifically wear it, so it's not considered a fresh garment that hasn't been worn yet. What about buying new clothing? So during the 3 weeks in general, you're not supposed to buy Shabbos clothing. You're not supposed to buy special clothing. But during the 9 days, you're not supposed to buy any clothing. You're not supposed to buy clothing unless it's like not important clothing. You're not supposed to buy simple garments that just unless there's a you don't have anything to wear or whatever. As we'll see in a moment, but the general thing I wanted to point out, right? The first thing, number one, is if you need to learn anything else tonight, is that tomorrow, before the fast begin, before the 9 days begin, to try in the clothes. What's the halacha about doing remodeling during the 9 days? So you're not supposed to do any remodeling starting from Rosh Chodesh. Usually, halacha says once you started something, you ought to continue. But regarding remodeling, there's no such dispensation. Even if you began remodeling before the 9 days, you're not allowed to continue remodeling. This prohibition is only for someone who has a home to live in. And now he wants to make the house bigger and nicer. But if the house is unfit to live in, or even if the house is fit to live in, but he started remodeling already, and now he can't live in the house because the remodeling has started, so then he's allowed to continue remodeling in the 9 days. What if he stops the building, it's going to mess up what he started already? Then also he's going to continue building during the 9 days. What if he is a contractor, and that's his business, to build homes? So that is permissible. Or what if he wants to build, what's the lashon? He wants to, you build a house and you sell it right away, what's it called? Flip it. He wants to flip it. So you ought to do that because he's not doing it for the sake, what's forbidden is binyan shel simcha, building for the sake of joy. Flipping a home is for the sake of parnasa, that's the sake of business. So that kind of building for the sake of renting the house or the sake of selling the house is permissible. So if you're a contractor, you're allowed to do if the Jew is allowed to fix his house for the same reasons, like he has no place to live, he needs a place to live, then as a contractor you're allowed to do that. You're allowed to fix his house for him. For sure, you're allowed to do the houses of non-Jews. What about a shul? Our library is middle of construction. We have to stop it. So whatever is in need of a community is allowed to be done during the 9 days. It's also forbidden to paint during the 9 days. But you're allowed to do minor repairs, but you're not allowed to do any painting starting from beginning of 9 days. When the 9 days begin? 9 days begin from sundown, from Shkia, tomorrow night. If you already hired somebody, you hired a non-Jew to paint your home, and he already started before the 9 days began, you can finish his job. You shouldn't enter a new home, and you shouldn't sign on renting a home or buying a home in the 9 days. You shouldn't sign on it doesn't mean you can't make an offer, but you shouldn't you shouldn't sign a contract or enter a new home during the 9 days. Okay. Even getting back to the clothing now, even buying a talus, even buying a tzitzis, though it's for a mitzvah, you're not allowed to buy it during the 9 days, unless your talus is ripped, you have no choice. If there is let's say you're in Crown Heights and you want to buy a kapota, and you can't buy kapotas in Los Angeles because they don't sell them in Los Angeles, or there's a special sale and it's still not going to go back to the price of the item that you want to buy. You want to buy something that's unique because you'll lose money, so then you're allowed to buy it now, but don't wear it until after the 9 days. This prohibition also applies to clothing for children. However, for children, what you've bought already, they could wear. When you have to buy, if you're in Crown Heights now, you want to buy kapata, you can buy it now, but you shouldn't wear it till after the 9 days. Even on Shabbos. On Shabbos also, unlike in Sfir Sa'emer, during Sfir Sa'emer on Shabbos, you can say Shechianu, but the 9 days, even in the 3 weeks in general, you're not allowed to say Shechianu on Shabbos either. And even though we don't customarily say Shechianu on just buying some clothing, but you're not supposed to either wear new clothing either on the 9 days. But a child you already bought for the child something new, the child is allowed to wear it. Is allowed to wear it. You're also allowed to buy a child new tzitzis and a yarmulke. A chas and kala getting married, they're allowed to buy whatever they need for their wedding if they won't be able to buy it after the 9 days. Let's say you have no clothing to wear. Your clothing has gotten dirty, so you're allowed to buy what you need and put them on after you put them on the floor and step on them. Then you could wear those new clothing that you got. What about children or women who are pregnant who suddenly discover that their size has changed and they need to buy new clothing? So if they didn't have a chance to buy the clothing before the 9 days, they can. What about your Tisha B'Av slippers, your Tisha B'Av Crocs, whatever you're going to wear on Tisha B'Av? You should buy that tomorrow. Buy it before the 9 days. If you didn't buy it before the 9 days, you could buy it. And you could wear it for the first time on Tisha B'Av. If your business is to sell clothing, you got to keep your store open during the 9 days. What about buying appliances? What about buying a car? What about buying an air conditioner? So you're not supposed to buy important things during the 9 days. You're not supposed to buy furniture. You're not supposed to buy jewelry. But if you bought it already, you can't bring it into your home. But if you need a car, if you need an air conditioner, if you need a washing machine, you're allowed to buy it and you're allowed to use it. Let's say, yes?
If I'm ordering something on Amazon now and it will arrive during the 9 days, that's called buying during the 9 days?
Yes. There's two things, buying and using. If it's something which is going to get ruined, like for example, right now this diamond ring is in a special unique sale, then it's permissible to buy it. And also someone who sells jewelry and sells furniture, even if you bought the furniture before, you're not supposed to bring it in your home. You bought your special furniture, you can't bring it in your home during 9 days. However, if your business is to sell furniture, you're allowed to keep your store open during the 9 days. What about fixing garments? So you're not allowed to sew new garments during the 9 days. You're also not allowed to finish sewing a new garment, but you're allowed to make a repair in an old garment. Unless it's something which is a very complex thing you want to do. If you want to do a simple fixing on your garment, you put a button back on, that's okay. What about sewing garments for a chas and kala? That's permissible. If they can't do it before, they can't do it after, then they're allowed to do it the 9 days as well. Women have a custom, there's a custom of women, not a prohibition, it's a custom of women not to do any sewing during these days, weaving during these days, whether they get paid or they don't get paid, whether it's for themselves or for others. Just like women have a custom not to do work. There's a custom women have to be careful not to sew anything during these days. The Rashba once said that even 1,000 logical reasons cannot nullify a custom of old Jewish women. Old Yiddish Babas, they have a custom. There are 1,000 reasons why this custom shouldn't apply, but that's Torah. Okay, Some people say you're allowed to do like needlepoint because you want to learn how to sew. If your job is to sew, the custom is to be lenient and to allow sewing. As even if you're sewing for a Jew, as long as they gave it to you before the 9 days to do this. However, in the week of Tisha B'Av, then you shouldn't do this. And this year, since Tisha B'Av is pushed off to Sunday, so if your job is to sew, if you're a seamstress, you're also allowed to complete work that was done, that was given to you to be done before the 9 days began. What about washing yourself? Washing clothing we discussed. What about washing yourself? So you're not allowed to wash your body for the sake of enjoyment, for the sake of pleasure, even with cold water. But if you're washing yourself for the sake of cleanliness, then it's permissible. Therefore, it's forbidden to go to swim in the ocean. But if you have your doctor tells you that for your Gesund Rabbi Yosef you have to do a little bit of Zumba, so then Gesundheit. Yeah, Zumba is very important to do Zumba. No, Zumba is not the same thing. What's it called? Aqua aerobics. You need to do aqua aerobics. So if you aqua aerobics, your doctor tells you to do aqua aerobics, so you're allowed to do that. But it's better to do this privately or in a pool which is designated for this. You're allowed to wash your part of your body, your hands, your face, in cold water. And cold water doesn't necessarily mean cold water. If it's water which is lukewarm, as long as it's not hot enough that's meant for enjoyment, it's also permissible. Washing yourself for the sake of for a medical reason is of course permissible. Washing yourself for the sake of cleanliness. So, like, let's say you live in a hot climate, and you always need to wash yourself. Wow, aren't you a Homo sapien? So there is room to be lenient and to wash yourself with cold water or water which is lukewarm. And if you need to wash yourself with hot water and with soap. But only do what you need for the sake of cleanliness and not for the sake of enjoyment, and not to stay in the water more. Shalom bayis. That sounds like a case of health also, because you may get hit in the head with a frying pan. So Erev Shabbos, the custom is that people wash regularly. My grandfather showed me once in some publication, he couldn't believe it. It says in the publication that on Erev Shabbos you wash with soap and shampoo and hot water. And I said, that's what everyone does, what's the big deal? He says, yeah, but no one writes it. So I don't know where it comes from, because in Shulchan Aruch it's not so clear that they could do that. But that has become the minhag. Some people say that the minhag that the halachas are, because we in general we're used to showering every day, which was not the custom at all in the time of the Gemara. So therefore the halachas have a different application in Nishtanu Ativin. But either way, that's practically that people do wash regularly the honor of Shabbos. I don't know with soap and shampoo. That's what. But I shouldn't say it because I haven't seen it written anywhere. Anyways, so washing for the sake of a mitzvah is of course permissible. If you're used to going to a mikveh every day, you'll have to go to mikveh the 9 days as well. Children can be washed in a regular way if they're lower than the age of 9. If they're already at the age of 9 and they understand a little bit the idea of mourning for 9 days, you should only wash them as necessary, like if they got dirty or whatever. What about cutting your nails? So you're allowed to cut your nails in the 9 days, except for the week of Tisha B'Av. So it's a little complicated. Next Thursday we'll go over laws of Shabbos Chazain, etc. But you're allowed to cut your nails during the 9 days, except for the week of Tisha B'Av. Am I making a mistake? Not the Shabbos, not the Shabbos after, right? Not the Shabbos, next Shabbos, not this coming Shabbos. Yeah, it's also Shabbos Chazain. Yeah.
And what about Erev Shabbos?
Okay, so Erev Shabbos, you are allowed to cut your nails. Okay, this Shabbos is a little complicated because this Shabbos it's Rosh Chodesh Erev Shabbos, and so probably the best thing. And on Thursday you're not supposed to cut your nails. So the best thing would have been to cut your nails before tonight. Okay. You're not allowed to get any clothing pressed during the 9 days. Even you put them on, you did the whole thing, Rabbi. I put on my suits before Rosh Chodesh, and now I want to press my suit, and you do the suit. So you're allowed to press you're not allowed to press your suit even if you wore it already. So you're not supposed. So you're only allowed to wash whatever in a scenario where your clothing has all gotten dirty, all your clothing is dirty. Then you're allowed to wash what you need. But what? If everything is dirty, you only wash what you need. So, all right. So, for example, if you're washing, let's say your children's stuff, you're not allowed to put in your stuff there too. You're allowed to wash. If you're washing your children's clothing, you can wash all your children's clothing, even what they don't need for the 9 days as well. But you can't wash your own clothing just because you're washing your children's clothing. Okay. What about wearing? This prohibition about washing clothing is also regarding towels and bedding as well. But it does not apply to underwears, undershirt, and socks, things which are worn, which are next to the body, and you sweat in them. There's no prohibition about wearing those, and there's no prohibition wearing those items. Yeah. You're allowed to wear them if they're fresh out of the washing machine. You're allowed to wear socks and undergarments as regular. You're also allowed to wear your talus. Your talus is washed. You need to wear your talus. You're allowed to wear your talus. If you set out for yourself honor of Shabbos, you put every Shabbos you have new bedding. So you're allowed to do this as well. This Shabbos as well. The Shabbos 9 days as well. Those who go to a bris and they are the guests of honor at the bris, the parents of the baby, the woman who is the klater, the moyel, the sandik, they also could wear Shabbos clothing at the bris as well. For guests coming to your home, you're also allowed to put out special. You're allowed to put out new fresh towels and fresh bedding. Children from till the age of 6, and if there's a need, if the clothing has gotten dirty, you could be lenient till bar mitzvah. They're allowed to wash clothing if it's not the week of Tisha B'av, and if they're missing clothing, they're allowed to also wash it for them. And children are always getting their clothing dirty. You're allowed to wash their clothing all 9 days. Okay, let's go quickly through the laws of meat and wine. It's forbidden to have meat and wine starting from Rosh Chodesh Av. What's considered meat? Meat is whether meat or chicken is considered meat, and our custom is to be stringent also for chicken soup. Even though you're not actually eating the meat, it has a taste of meat, taste of chicken, it's also forbidden. What about using a fleshika pot? A fleshika pot is permissible. You're allowed to use a fleshika pot during 9 days as well. Even though the pot was used today to cook chicken, you're allowed to use that same pot to cook something which is parif. What about wine? The prohibition of wine is not just for wine, but grape juice. What about mashke? What about beer? There's no prohibition for to have beer or any other alcohol during the 9 days. The only prohibition is to have grape juice and wine. What about putting wine into food? Not supposed to there are those who are lenient, but the best thing is not to put wine in food either. On Shabbos, we eat meat and we drink wine, and before Shabbos, it's customary to be lenient to give children the food of Shabbos before Shabbos starts, and also you're allowed to eat the food before Shabbos to test its taste. To test its taste, you're allowed to taste it and then to spit it out. It's basically what I wanted to do. A woman who has just given birth for the first 30 days, she's allowed to eat meat. What happens? It happens. Let's say it's Erev Shabbos, and your son just had a piece of chicken, and you want to taste it too. So, are you allowed to taste the chicken? No, you made a bracha on it though. Can you eat it? You made a bracha. So the conclusion is, you made a bracha on the chicken, you made a bracha on the wine. You should eat a little piece. Okay, you are allowed to polish your shoes in honor of Shabbos. You're allowed to wear regular pressed garments on Shabbos. You're allowed to again change your bedding and your sheets. People have a custom to eat from the food of Shabbos before Shabbos, you could do that, just not anything which is fleshik. The only time you can have fleshik food is if you're eating the fleshik food for the sake of tasting it to see if it came out right. I just want to check with you one thing before I let you guys go. One thing, I just want to check if I told you correctly. Hold on, give me 10 seconds. Yeah. Okay, that's right. You go to mikveh Erev Shabbos, you go every Erev Shabbos, go to Shabbos in the mikveh in the morning, go to Shabbos in the mikveh in the morning. Any questions? All right. Grace and Shkach. Yeah.